Hi everyone, welcome back to the next diecast. In today's video, I'll be showing you and reviewing this 1/18 scale Lexus LC500H made by Almost Real Models. I got this model from eBay for around $185 in total. To date, it's actually the most expensive model car that I've gotten in 1/18 scale. And I thought that was justified because I do happen to love the Lexus LC in real life. I think it's an awesome car. In terms of other models that you can get of the LC series in 1/18 scale, currently you can find the Almost Real version, which is what of course we have here, in several different colors. You can get it in this really awesome blue with the white interior, a dark metallic red with the same interior, as well as a white and a silver version. Auto Art also makes their own version of the LC500, and they make the LC500. This is the LC500H, which is the hybrid version of the Lexus LC coupe. But the Auto Art version is not made of die-cast. It's actually made of a material called composite. And I can't really get a clear answer on what that actually is, but it's not die-cast and the model was very lightweight. And although it's well detailed, I think the Almost Real version is definitely superior to the Auto Art version. And we'll kind of see why as I go throughout the review here. And I believe either Mini Champs or Kyosho makes a 1/18 scale version as well, but their version I don't think is nearly as good as the Almost Real version. So you can find the Almost Real version mainly on eBay for between usually $150 and $200, depending on where you're getting it from. Mine actually came from China, so the wait was a little bit long, but I think it was definitely well worth it. And as of now, this model is still widely available, so I believe Almost Real is still manufacturing it. In addition to the model, you also get a microfiber cloth and a door opener tool. I don't have those with me right now, but I do show them in the unboxing I did of this model, which I will link in the description for you to view. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into the amazing details of this model. We'll start up here with the front. I think Almost Real just nails the overall shape and look of the LC in their 1/18 scale replica here. Just everything about it is just perfect in terms of the shapes and lines and everything. And this car in real life does have a lot of unique geometry to it, as you'll see just by panning around the model here and looking at photos of the real car. So in the front here, I think Almost Real does an excellent job with these headlights here. They are the right shape and everything, and the lenses are, I think, perfectly flush with the body, as you'll see here. Nicely molded up bulbs in there as well, and then you have the nice clear lenses on the front. I think they look very well done. In the center, you will see the iconic grille of this car. I think Almost Real does a decent job with this. It's worth noting that the Auto Art version does have fully perforated mesh, but on the Almost Real version, you don't see that, which I think is this model's only, I think, negative aspect. And honestly, from a far distance, you can't really tell, like, either way if it's perforated or not. It's only if you look at it, like, really close. And honestly, I think that at least the shaping that they do of the textured mesh is pretty well done. So I think having this be fully perforated would have definitely been a really good touch, but you just don't see that on here. But I think, again, that's probably the only negative aspect, I think, of this model that at least I have found. You do, however, get a really nicely done Lexus badge in the center here. It does have the proper blue outline around it, because that's what Lexus does for their hybrid models. And then you have kind of that nice silver L in the center there as well, which I believe might be made of real metal. And you actually have this nice clear lens over the badge, which you would see on the real car, of course. And here's a look at the other headlight there too. You can kind of see all the great detailing in there as well. And you have very tiny separately cast plastic pieces for these very small intake vents on here. They could have very well just molded them in as metal, but they actually go to the trouble of making them as very small separately cast plastic pieces, which is awesome to see. Now the paint on this model, I would say, is fantastic. This blue is known as structural blue, and it was a special limited paint release for 2018 for the LC500H. As you can see, it's a dark kind of metallic blue paired up with a blue and white interior. And then you have the standard wheels you would see for the LC500H. The paint, I would say, is definitely flawless on here. I think Almost Real captures just the metallic sparkle and the overall hue of the structural blue quite well. It's all smooth throughout. There's absolutely no, imperfections at all. You would definitely, I think, expect to see that on such an expensive model, but you'd be surprised that some upper-end model manufacturers do have their occasional flaws, but these flaws are not present on this model at all, which is excellent to see. Now, these stickers that hold shut the hood and trunk may leave some residue when you first get your model, but if you have a microfiber cloth, you can just kind of clean it right off. So I wish they maybe, in terms of packing the model, use bands on the hood and trunk as opposed to those like clear stickers. They're not going to damage the paint. They're just kind of a chore to take off, but I don't think that's a big deal. Moving along to the side here, you have wheels that are made of real metal, which is fantastic. And you have fully branded tires, which are the accurate tires you would see on the real LC500H. And the wheels, as I said, are made of real metal, and they are the perfect replication of the real wheels you would see on the real LC500H. And you do have those nice Lexus badges in these centers as well, which almost feel like they're separately cast plastic pieces as opposed to being stamped on there. Just fantastic. And then, of course, you have metal disc brakes that do move through the calipers, which is a very nice touch. And of course, the model does have full steering and suspension as well. And the model itself is extremely heavy. This is actually one of the heaviest model cars that I have. And that is accurate because the real LC500 and LC500H are both very heavy cars because of all the high quality materials that Lexus uses to make them. So that's awesome to kind of see that here. Further down the side, you do have these side mirrors, which are nicely cast, and they fold in, just like you would see on the real car. They kind of fold in and out like that. Down here, you do have some very nice badging. You have the hybrid badge right there. Each letter is done in kind of a separate silver piece. I'm not sure if they're made of metal or plastic, but they are actually separate molded letters that are glued onto the car, and they look perfect. And this will be the same badging you would see on the real car, of course. I believe for the regular LC500, you wouldn't see hybrid down there. It would just have this panel without the badging, but because this is the hybrid version, you do have the hybrid badge right there. Fantastic job. And then, of course, you have these side intakes below the doors on here as well. And taking a look at the rear of the model, you'll see that Almost Real did an excellent job with that as well. Very nicely molded taillights back here. They're nice and flush with the body, which is awesome to see. And you have this three-dimensional Lexus badge in the center of the trunk lid. And you also have the Lexus LC500H badging done on separately cast letters, which is awesome to see. Then you have kind of that basic LC500H license plate back there as well. You do have lower exhaust pipes down here. And yeah, they are done in chrome, but at least they look pretty well done. And all these lower lights down here are separately cast plastic pieces. They're extremely thin, so most manufacturers would have probably painted them on instead of doing them as separately cast plastic pieces. But Almost Real does them as separate tail lights, which is nice to see. I think that's like a lower kind of reverse light down there as well. Now, with opening features on this model, there are many. So we're going to take a look first at the opening trunk back here, which opens up like so. You can see it's on kind of these hydraulic hinges, which are very well done. And you do have full carpeting back here in the trunk, which is awesome to see. And the trunk does go all the way back to the rear seat, which you would see, of course, on the real car. And you even have carpeting on the underside of the trunk lid. Now, a cool feature about the trunk is that these two panels here are removable. You have these kind of ribbons right here, and you can just pull the panels out, like so. And this is where you have your hybrid batteries and your toolkit for the real car. And both of these panels would come off in this exact fashion on the real car. So it is awesome that Almost Real does those kind of extra touches like that. Here's the batteries back there. These are the magnets that hold the panel in place, or the carpeted panel in place. The stickers are kind of peeling off a little bit, but at least they put in these batteries to begin with. They could have very well gotten away with just having a carpeted trunk and not having these additional kind of features in there, but then it wouldn't be Almost Real, I guess. And then you have this kind of toolkit molded in the front here. It's not a separately, you can't pull anything out up here or anything, but at least it is kind of molded in there. And you would, of course, see that in the trunk of the real LC500H. So to put the panels back inside, you just kind of line them up with the magnets, and they kind of click back into place like that. And the panels are pretty flush with the rest of the trunk. I thought maybe they would be kind of pushed up a little bit, and they do in some cases become pushed up, so you just got to kind of push them back in place. These ribbons are kind of a bit much sometimes, but you can kind of tuck them away in the corner to hide them like that. But otherwise, you wouldn't be able to get the panels out if you didn't have these ribbons in there. So very cool job in here. And the hinges look very well done. They're not just basic dog-leg hinges. These are the hinges you would see on the real trunk. All the different hydraulic functions and everything. So that is awesome to see that. And of course, you also get an opening hood on the model. There is a button underneath here. You just push that, and then you can kind of lift up the hood like so. You can see that Almost Real does a pretty good job of detailing the 3.5-liter V6 you would see in the real vehicle. You have different metal and plastic components in here. For example, this whole portion here is made of metal, which is an awesome touch. And then you have kind of some different wiring and some other components that you would see in the real engine. And you can see actually partway down to the bottom of the car, which is another very cool touch. And also this cover here actually comes off like that. It's held on by two magnets. So you can kind of see even more of the engine detailing once this cover is removed. Now, I believe on the real car, this wouldn't all be completely black. You would have maybe some other colors in there. But the fact that you're able to take off the cover is actually very cool. The auto art version does not have that function, but the Almost Real version does. So that's just very cool to see that. And of course, with the underside of the hood, you have all these different warning labels and everything that you would see on the real car. Another thing that the auto art version does not have. And you have kind of this matte finish underneath there as well. The hood opens up on these interesting kind of hydraulic hinges that you would of course see on the real car. And the rest of the components in here I think look pretty well done. You have kind of these wires and the terminals back there. The wires look like you can actually move them, but of course they're just molded in on plastic. So I'd say a very good engine job for such an upper end model. I'm sure some more finer details would have been welcome with this engine, but I think what they have there is excellent. And the fact that you can take off the cover is just very cool. It does kind of go back on like that. You have to make sure that you line it up or else the hood won't close. Right now it is lined up. You have to kind of hover it over the magnets, like line up the magnets on the underside of this with the magnets in the engine, and then just kind of drop it back into place like that. But very cool. I would definitely have it displayed on the shelf like this because the engine is just so well detailed. And these are blue like you would see on the real car. I assume for the other versions of the LC500, they would kind of be color matched for the paint. These just happen to be blue because you have the structural blue paint. So very well done. We'll go ahead and close that up. And you can see that because I lined it up properly, the hood did fully close. So that's nice to say. Folding side mirrors, as I already mentioned, but I guess that's another working feature that we can count. And of course, you also have opening doors on the model. To open up the doors, you kind of push in the handles like that. We'll do it on this side too. You kind of see it from up above. They push out like you would see on the real car. And then you can take your finger now, or if you have the door opener tool, you can use that. And the doors just pull open like so. Now the interior of this model is just packed with different details and features. We'll kind of start with the features. And one cool feature that you get in the model are adjustable front seats. They slide back and forth like that, which is a very cool touch. You also have an opening glove box, which opens up like that. And you can kind of shut it as well. And you also have an opening armrest, which opens up like that. Awesome. I love these kind of extra details on these upper end models. And of course, you would see these open on the real car. It is kind of a hassle to close the armrest a little bit, so I wouldn't open it too often, but the fact that you can open it to begin with is just super cool. And then getting to the fine details, the doors and door panels look fantastic. You have all the very finely detailed window buttons up there. You also have the nicely molded door handles, which you would see, of course, on the real LC500H. And for the structural blue edition, you have kind of these blue door panels with the orange accents going on. Almost Real captures that very well. I think they look excellent in terms of detailing. The excellent finer details continue onto the dashboard, where you'll see you have this kind of warning label right there. And you have all the different textures and colors going on as well. You have that Lexus screen in the middle there, and you have nicely molded air vents, which look very well done. And then, of course, you have a nice kind of smooth pattern throughout the blue portions of the dashboard, and kind of a rougher pattern for the silver portions to simulate the metal you would see on the real car. And the interior of the model is fully carpeted with blue felt, which is very nice to see. And on the sides of the seats, you'll see all the different seat controls, which almost looks like you can move them yourself. They're so well kind of molded on there. That's just fantastic to see. And you have Lexus imprinted on these door sills, which are made of real metal. The seats of the model are also very well detailed. You have a very nice texture going on and very nice coloring as well. And as you saw, they do move back and forth, which is awesome to see. You have fabric seat belts, which are a very nice touch, and you can even see some detailing with the back seats too, which are a bit hard to see through the windows and everything. There's kind of a view back there with that defroster in the way. But I think Almost Real does an excellent job with all of these different details that you would see on the real car. On this side, the steering wheel is very well done, along with all the different buttons that you see with the shifter and the surrounding areas of the shifter. And of course, the center stack has all kinds of buttons that are detailed on there as well. So that's just a very cool touch. All the buttons you would see on the real steering wheel are there, and they are kind of painted on. And you have that very nice kind of Lexus badge in the center of that as well. Of course, you have the accurate texture too, which is awesome to see. And then here's another view of the carpeting on this side too. And of course, the driver's seat has the same excellent detail as the passenger seat with that awesome texture. And then you have the seat controls down there. And you even have warning labels inside the door sills here. Just fantastic additional details that you would see. And then here's a better view of those window buttons, which are also separately kind of painted on. Very awesome to see that. And you do have some well-detailed pedals down there as well. Of course, on the real car, they would be made of brushed aluminum, but I think Almost Real does do an excellent job of kind of capturing the brushed aluminum look with those painted plastic pedals, as you'll see here. Just a fantastic interior. I wish that maybe the center armrest would be a little bit easier to open, but they didn't have to make it open in the first place, so I don't think there's too much to complain about there. And then, of course, you do have the functioning sunroof in here as well. You can either get your finger in there like I'm doing, it's kind of hard to do, as you'll see here, and close it up. Or if you just tilt the model back, it will kind of slide back and forth. But that's just very cool to see that. Now with the undercarriage of the model, there is actually a fair bit to see down here. The undercarriage is made of a full metal, and you do see the separately cast exhaust components down here as well, kind of painted in silver. And you can even see some of the engine detailing kind of underneath that too. That's just very cool to see that. So when all is said and done, I do think that the Almost Real Lexus LC500H is definitely the best LC500 model in 1/18 scale to get. Yeah, it does have its few flaws, like the lack of perforations on the front grille and the difficult to open center armrest, but they're, I think, the only two flaws out of the whole model. And in general, the model does seem to be cheaper than the auto art version in terms of just overall price. So I think that by itself does make it worth buying over the auto art version. And I think in general, the LC500 looks amazing, and Almost Real definitely captures its beauty and just overall uniqueness with their model that they produce of the car. So if you can find it for a good price, as long as it's under $200, I would say definitely get it. It does come in a variety of different colors, as I mentioned, and you can mostly find it on eBay. So I hope this was a helpful kind of in-depth review of this model, and feel free to comment down below with your thoughts on it. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.